I'd love him to direct some animation, so stay tuned to see if that happens. Because I know he'd love to get involved with that medium, and I think I have a project that hopefully he would like.
Muy bien, Kat, muchísimas gracias por estar aquí en el canal, es un honor, hemos visto tu trabajo y bueno, yo quisiera empezar por preguntándole por su rol en El Corredor Tropieza, que es una de las escenas como más sublimes de su debut. Entonces quería preguntarle cómo le fue en este papel, en este rol, qué recuerda al respecto sobre ello.
Okay, we are going early in your career, as we always do in this channel. And tell us, what do you remember of the runner stumbles back in 79? I know it's a lot of time, but we want to know, yes, what memories got
I
from.
remember. Well, that was my film debut. I was just a kid, and I'd done a lot of theater. I was a child performer and dance and music, but that was my film debut. It happened to be my father, Stanley Kramer's film. And my sister and I were both in it as school kids in the town. And I played the character of Sophie, and I decided to play her very studious and shy, like a wallflower with braids and glasses. And I got to work with Dick Van Dyke. And that was my best memories of it, I guess. You know, that it was definitely my screen debut, and I kind of set the tone for my career playing characters and, you know, trying to create something different about them and not just playing them as me, someone to play people that were, you know, like me, but far removed from me. So it was kind of interesting because the family moved up to Bellevue, Washington, right before we made that film. And that was filmed in the little town of Roslyn, and in a very remote area. We had to stay on a farmhouse. That was where the film crew put us. And some of the cast was also staying there. And there was actually like chickens and pigs, and it was very rural, and horses. And it was supposed to take place in the 1920s. And so that was the kind of location that my father and the production company thought best suited the story. So it's a memory I'll always remember, especially doing the three-legged race with Dick Van Dyke and him carrying me. And it's a memory I'll always remember.
I'm impressed because, wow, Jhon didn't tell me. I only a translator, but I really loved classic cinema. And wow, I'm impressed. I didn't know that you were the daughter of
Yeah.
Wow.
That's kind of how I got the part. But you know, my father tried to keep me out of the business, but they couldn't. I went straight for it. I've always wanted to be in show business and in film and as a performer and as a creator. So that was, you know, at least he gave me a taste of it. And so I learned how to act in front of the camera just from that experience. I really think you learn best by doing.
And I am glad because I know Jhon got more questions from all the details of your career. So, amazing. Jhon, no traduciré, continúa.
De hecho, bueno, hay un tema musical que sí Andrés debe complementármelo, que es con Billy Preston. Es que, a ver, es una leyenda absolutamente toda la música de él, toda la trayectoria, pero ¿qué tiene de especial este tema? Que la verdad, para mí, yo digo que es como abrir el corazón a lo que son, a las adversidades, ¿sí? Partido together. Entonces, cuéntame sobre ello.
Okay, now we are going to talk about the song Party All Together from Billy Preston. Party All Together, sorry. Yes, tell us more about this tune. Jhon feel it
Okay.
Yes, tell us more.
Okay, well, Party Doll, in case you don't know, was written, the music and the lyrics, by Mick Jagger, and it was not a Rolling Stones song. It's a solo song he did for his second solo album, Primitive Cool. And I'm a huge Rolling Stones fan and aficionado, but I've always felt that Mick Jagger was not appreciated enough with his solo and his music and lyrics and just the songs. And also Keith Richards. They both have had solo albums that, you know, were successful, but obviously not as successful as them as the Rolling Stones writing together as a duo partnership. So I recorded a whole album called Gemstone Kat Kramer sings Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, but it's primarily obscure Rolling Stones songs and Mick Jagger and Keith Richards solo songs. And Party Doll is probably my favorite, or one of my top favorite Mick Jagger solo songs. And I was lucky to get Billy Preston, the late Billy Preston. It's right before he passed away, just, right before he got sick and wasn't performing anymore, but I was lucky to get him to sing the duet with me. The song isn't written as a duet. I just decided to turn it into a duet and get Billy Preston to sing on it. And he also played the organ, which he was famous for doing on a couple of Rolling Stones songs and albums anyway. But the ironic thing is he really didn't know that song. So even though he had worked with the Stones and was known as the fifth Beatle, throughout his career, he was not familiar with that song. So I feel like I, introduced him to Mick Jagger's solo music, and he played on a couple of Mick's solo albums, but he just wasn't familiar with Party Dolls. So I'm very happy about it. I love the version that we did. And I'm also honored that I'm included in a new book called Undercover that just came out in October by Peter Chexfield. And he takes, artists that have covered the Rolling Stones and their solo material. And I got mentioned there like 3 times and featured in 3 different sections. And they, out of all the songs I've recorded of the Stones, they chose Blinded by Love, which is a kind of obscure Rolling Stones song, Party Doll, and Make No Mistake, which was a Keith Richards song that he wrote the music and lyrics. So I'm just really thankful and very happy that I ended up and was acknowledged in that book. And I have a lot of plans to do Party Doll live in the coming future. I can't say when, but that's something I want to do. Unfortunately, Billy Preston himself can't perform it, but maybe I could do something like Natalie Cole with her father when she sang Unforgettable and he was on the screen, or maybe I'll get another guest artist, or maybe I'll just do it as a solo song myself. I'll just sing it solo the way it was written originally. But thank you for acknowledging that.
No, in fact, I asked a favor to Jhon to let me do the next question, or more like a comment. One, you are totally right, because it's great not only acknowledge that song, but also the career of Mick Jagger as a solo artist,
Yes,
and not only as a solo artist. I remember. Oh, you made me remember my late grandma. She passed away like 2 months, because it's crazy. She don't like. I know she says she was an old woman. She loves boleros and Nat King Cole, by the way, like the boleros that he's seen in Spanish, beautiful. But he don't like. He didn't like the Rolling Stones, but he loved the career of Mick Jagger, not as a solo and as an actor. Many people recognize that. Please tell. I want you that you.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because he's done a lot of acting and he's good. And he had a movie actually that came out right before the pandemic, and I went to the premiere, and then that really couldn't get a wide release, The Burnt Orange Heresy, and it didn't get a wide release because of the pandemic, but it did play in a few markets. But the book is actually right behind me in the library there, and I'm going to get everybody that I can to sign it who's featured in the book. So that's kind of a collector's item I want to do, But I'm just very happy they asked me to be in it. I didn't have to suggest anything. They contacted me, and I'm in the book. So, and the CD hasn't even come out on the market yet. It's been in Europe and it was available like in Holland and certain countries, but it hasn't come out in the States. It's been played on the radio, and that version of Party Doll was played on the radio too. But public at large hasn't heard it yet. So, this will be the time coming up.
When we take the final picture, please show us that boot.
Okay.
And by the way,
I can send you you can just put it up or something too. I can send you a picture of it.
Please.
That picture's made from that, highlighting my section. So I can send that. Yeah, absolutely.
For the final edition Yes, for the final edition of the interview, I will tell that to
Okay.
my friend. John, le pedí el favor a Kat que nos muestre el libro, porque es que te voy a resumir.
Wow.
Gracias a esta canción, incluso va a salir un libro, va a salir una versión de ella también en vivo, estilo, tú sabes, como cuando Nat King Cole y Natalie Cole hicieron el dúo Unforgettable.
Sí.
Y le voy a decir algo antes de pasar a tu pregunta. Y que sí, que ella incluso nos va a mandar una foto de la página donde sale el libro. O sea, sale en una memoria. And before I let my friend do the question, you made me wonder. I don't believe sometimes on the words, but I do believe in the big moments in music and in cinema. Do you think that with this version of this song, and you tell us about Nat King Cole and Natalie Cole, happened like what happened that in that year that she won the Grammy? I don't know, because this kind of material. I don't know. Tell us. I'm so excited. I love that music, by the way.
I would love to perform it around and tour around with a whole. Well, I have a show called My Duet with Mick, which is a one-person show based on the concept of me wanting to have an opportunity to do a duet with Mick, either where we sing or he plays the harmonica or something where he's involved in his own songs. But I didn't actually include that song in the show, but I'm planning to revise the show, and that hopefully will go in there. So it's still an evolving one-person show. But I want to do an evening of music, just music that's like a cabaret show, musical presentation, and I definitely will include that song.
John, your time. Thank you, thank you.
Eso es increíble, ¿no? Te lo agradecemos por eso. Qué buena pregunta, André. Y no solo eso, hay dos títulos que la verdad me parecieron impresionantes. Una que es sobre Going Shopping y la otra es Hollywood Dreams. Hay dos temas que se desprenden. Me parece muy interesante. ¿Qué, qué aprendió de los personajes? Uno que trataba como de poder analizar un poco como la moda y el otro cumplir los sueños en Hollywood.
Well, they were both directed by Henry Jaglom, if you know his movies. And there's never really a script on he works very improvisationally, so I learned how to work that way, kind of like Robert Altman, but he always had I believe he had scripts. I don't really know, but I know that Henry Jaglom's in that improvisational style. And in Going Shopping, I played myself, but I created a character named Ruby Tuesday based on Ruby Tuesday, the Rolling Stones song. See, I try and incorporate the Stones in everything I do. And I had a Rolling Stones purse that I carried, and my sister was in it. We played ourselves, but we played characters. But so that's why it's not listed as Ruby Tuesday, because they just decided to say it was me, but I was pretending to be a character called Ruby Tuesday. And same thing with Hollywood Dreams. I was Tina, an actress, and it's been a while. I can't even remember what the scene was exactly, but I just learned how to work that improvisational way. Where in other movies I've done recently, like Turnover, which is a great movie on Amazon Prime and other platforms, but that for me is the best place to see it. That was scripted and very traditional, and we shot in and out of context, but it was shot all entirely on location. And the movie has won multiple awards, and I was so happy to be able to also be a co-producer on it. And I won Best Supporting Actress at the Love International Film Festival for the role of Fran. And so it's kind of become like a signature role now for me. We're hoping to do a television series out of it. And so I did learn that style, and that was a woman director, writer-director, and the crew on that was mostly female. And I advocate very much for female filmmakers, especially behind the scenes, filmmakers and creatives. And I just worked with Michelle Arthur another time. She's another female filmmaker who's an auteur. And I did Fate Shadow with her too, the short film and the feature where my mom plays my own mom. We play a mother-daughter in that. And then I'm in Rings of the Unpromised, which is coming out in 2023. And I play Violet Grace, a business owner. And you have to see it. It's going to be, I think it's coming out in in the spring, it's going to do the film festival circuit and then it'll get released. But Violet Grace was a name that I was able to choose for my character, an homage to Violet from 9 to 5, that my performing idol Lily Tomlin, that was the role she played. And Grace is, and Grace and Frankie. So I kind of, because they were both business owners or workers or corporate minded. So I kind of, melded those two names together to create this character. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I haven't seen it yet. But what did I learn? That's basically what I learned, is that his style of directing is completely different than most directors. Most of them are scripted, and it's very stick to the script, very little improvisation. And with Henry, sometimes you don't even have any script. He'll just give you like a blueprint of a page of the kind of things you have to do, and you make up your own dialogue. So all the times I worked with him and his protege, that was all just Ron Vignoni is his protege. That was all just improvisational.
You tell us, sorry, that you won an award in the LHIFF festival.
LIFF, yeah, it's a very prominent
Barcelona.
international.
In Barcelona. In Barcelona.
Well, it was here in LA, but they're based also there too. Yeah. So
Wow.
it's a co-festival.
The world is a very small place. Guess what? I was one of the juries in the version of Barcelona this year.
Yes, oh my gosh.
Yes, I appear. I will tell my friend Jhon, envíale después el link del jurado. I will tell my friend Jhon that send you the link. My picture is there. But I'm so sad because the movies that I judged, I didn't see the one it was yours, because I judged another section. But what a small world. Wow.
It is, and that's such an international festival.
Yes.
And I think I was the only I'm the only actor from the United States that won the whole festival. And the movie also won. And that movie Turnovers won in so many festivals around the world. So I'm really proud of it. And it's very much about diversity and inclusion. And we have Down syndrome actors and deaf actors. And I advocate a lot for the deaf community and the disabilities community. And I'm the one that made sure that a deaf actress played the role, because it was originally written as a hearing character, one of the characters in the story. And because I work with the deaf talent in Hollywood and just, in the world, but basically there's a strong deaf community here because of Deaf West. And so I said, you have to cast a deaf actress in the role. You can't use a hearing actress anymore pretending to be deaf. It has to be authentic. So that was something that I also am very proud that I was able to, convince her, because we're still just learning about that, and that it has to be authentic to the person, and there has to be representation. And then when Coda won the Oscar this year for Best Picture, and my friend Troy Kotsur for Best Supporting Actor, and Sean Heder for Best Adapted Screenplay, I was just very happy, thinking that we finally broken through. We finally, made a difference. Representation is able to happen, and the deaf community can say that they did it in 2022. Because it's taken so many years for that community, specifically since Marlee Matlin won the Oscar in the 80s, there hasn't been any other deaf talent recognized. So I'm really, really happy that film was also able to break through. And Turnover was before that movie, and, it's the little engine that could, but we really did make the film accessible to everyone. And DEI was very much the theme, and family and acceptance.
I'm so happy that I share a space with you in that festival. But I will tell Darwin, the creator in Barcelona, that please let me see the movie, because he didn't have me to know it. And so I will. Too. When Troy Kotsur won the Oscar, I was doing an interview with Jhon, but I was watching my mother crying. Why are you crying? He was saying that speech. So tell him that he made a lot of people cry, but
absolutely. And this is the deaf version of applause. So we applaud him now, even.
And
I
kudos
always said he was the male Marley Matlin, like he was gonna do it for the male deaf actors, and it just, I really pushed behind that movie, and because I do campaigns for films as well, and I advocated for it, and when the award season started, not everyone had seen the film. It was interesting to me because it's a family film, not unlike Turnover in the sense that it has a positive message, but I just really kept advocating for it and pushing it out there and talking about it and, getting people to see it. And I didn't even present it for my screening series, which I would have normally done, but the movie had a life of its own, and so did Troy. So, and I'm hoping to work with him on something. That's a dream to, produce a project, be a part of a project that Troy acts. And he also is a director. So I would love him to direct something. And he's also producing now. So he really, is someone that everybody looks up to anyway, because he's a great actor, and he's also done so much theater and so many productions on Broadway with Deaf West. And so I saw him early on, and I knew he was going to make it big. So I'm just so happy that it happened. And he's even been on my panels. I was lucky to have him on a panel, and I moderated it, and we had a deaf and hearing panel, and I had ASL interpreters. And it's just amazing when you think how far that Troy has come. That was just a few years ago. It's not even been 10 years. It's only been like since 2015. So practically that, but he's a role model for everyone, not just for his community. So I'd love him to direct some animation. So stay tuned to see if that happens, because I know he'd love to get involved with that medium, and I think I have a project that hope.
and also thanks to you, because inclusion is so necessary. And oh my god, no, I will talk to Darwin. I will say, please let this time share me to Nobel. And in fact, I will tell my friend Jhon that let's do a review. I will say it because you say that this movie needs to be shown. I know it's on Amazon. In fact, Jhon was telling me it's on Amazon, but I don't got Amazon. So I will talk to Darwin, and because yes, we need to showcase these kind of movies, and of
Sí,
course
Turn
it
Lover.
has to.
I think there's some other platforms you can see Turnover on too, but I know it's been on Amazon Prime since the pandemic. So that's most people's, go-to place to watch it. But it's also on Tubi TV and YouTube, and there's a couple of other platforms. I think
I want to tell you something sad. Tubi was one of the. I mean, I always watch Tubi every day, but Tubi is not now available on Colombia. So what? No, but don't worry. We will watch that movie. We will promote it. And wow, I love how small is the word. Wow, wow, wow. Oh, I'm so glad. And by the way, Jhon, pásale el link. I will show you the link in which
Ya se
I
lo
appear
pasé.
as a jury. Jhon, gracias.
No, es increíble. Además, que nos hable un poco sobre Tom Lover, que digan más experiencia, pues su rol de Fran, no solo eso, sino también como productora. Obviamente, yo sé que he visto el trabajo de Linda Palmer, Halloween Party, pero, o sea, es increíble. Dígame, o sea, ¿qué más se viene sobre este proyecto? Y también sobre qué consejo le das a las futuras generaciones sobre las respuestas emocionales. Es que hay una película sobre ello.
Y sería bueno decir lo que tú me dijiste. Aguanta que te den un premio. O sea, no solo ella como actriz, sino como su carrera. Jhon was sorry, I'm so excited. Jhon had on his question something about Turnover. I know you talk about Turnover, but if you wanna talk more about this movie and also about the amazing role as a co-producer and knowing that it's a female director, Linda Palmer, go ahead. But also, what is your concept of the emotional response, and what do you think of these productions for future generations? Because we know that there is a project that you will do
Civil
that
Disobedience.
Civil Disobedience that deals with this subject.
Well, I'm also in this other film called Mother's Day Memories, which is about Alzheimer's, and I play the wife of the man whose mother has Alzheimer's in the movie. And it's actually based on his true story that happened to him with his mother. He made a few changes, but it's basically autobiographical. And that's won several awards. And so that one will have some pull for future generations as a kind of the standard movie to look at when you're dealing with the subject of how Alzheimer's affects families, because it not only affects the person who has it and their family, but it affects everyone around them and the decisions that are made. And so that film to me is also one that's worth mentioning. But all the movies will have some life beyond just the year that they came out. But I'm very much looking forward to Rings of the Unpromised, Michelle Arthur, as I mentioned, in playing Violet Grace, because she's a woman who's an auteur and she writes, directs, produces, and also stars in her own films. And the movie has got a nice subject to it, and it's about women's empowerment and empowering women in relationships. And Turnover is also about empowerment in terms of the lead character in that is the underdog. And I don't want to give too much of it away. You have to see it, but he really gets his life together and embraces community and love. And, he embraces diversity and inclusion. So that film also has a very strong message about acceptance. So I would say that that's the message in those two films, and also Mother's Day Memories are very strong. Going shopping is more about how women relate to shopping, and also has that message about what shopping means to a woman's identity and how different women deal with it. So I would say that that's also a message film, and about feminism too.
Worry that everything you told me, I always translated to my friend, but we decided that in this interview, I won't translate, so we let you tell more because it's really an honor to have you here. Really, really.
Bueno,
No, pues,
mi última pregunta para finalizar esta bella entrevista es, ¿qué nos puede contar sobre Sueño con Elefantes? Porque es algo que sí me cautivó de una manera distinta a como pues uno la ve, pero también hay algo que me parece impresionante porque ella está trabajando en un nuevo proyecto y me gustaría saber cuáles son. O sea, porque sí sabemos sobre lo del festival, lo de Darwin, es increíble, y el festival de cine.
what we can expect not only from I Dreamed of Elephants, but many, many other projects. You tell us something, but we know that you got more things under your wallet. But tell us, yes, what we can expect from I Dreamed of Elephants and any other thing that you want to tell us.
Well, before I talk about I Dream of Elephants, because that hasn't even been I can't say what phase we're in, but it's still in the preliminary phases, but I expect big things from it. But I have a screening series, Kat Kramer's Films That Changed the World, which is actually in its 12th year, but I have been celebrating the 10th anniversary. I just had a big LA premiere for a new documentary that's being released in the spring about human trafficking, and specifically sex trafficking. And I focus on social issue documentaries in this Kat Kramer's Films That Changed the World, where it's all about the issues that we need to address, in a sense, following in my father's footsteps, because he made films of social issues. So I'm doing the same thing with documentaries. And I had The Cove for my second installment, and that went on to win the Oscar for Best Documentary Feature. So I've been following that pattern of like animal rights, women's empowerment, environmental issues, deaf issues, bullying, anti-bullying issues, and school violence. These are all the subjects I've hit on with these films. And so I'm starting a film festival that's all about women's empowerment and women's issues in documentaries called Sheroes for Change. And that's coming up in 2023. I'm going to launch that officially. And I also am starting my own podcast. I just did an interview with Mary Appick last week for her film The Cat, which is a short film about the women's problems in Iran and what they're dealing with. And it's very timely and relevant, and it's all animated, and it's a 12-minute short film. So you'll see that coming up for me, that presentation. But the festival is going to be hybrid. It's going to be in person and virtual. And then I Dream of Elephants is a short film, an animated short film, written and will be directed by Lorraine Wheat. It's in the early stages of development, but I will announce that we're doing an audio podcast with it first. So it's going to be an audio podcast of the story, I Dream of Elephants, and then it'll evolve into the short film, an animated short, and it's all about elephant rescue and elephant conservation, focusing on African elephants. So it's a very, very also female empowerment story. And it's a young adult story geared more towards young adults and teens, but it's also for everyone. So that's something I'm really proud of, to be involved with the development of it. And she wrote it, but we're also doing an anthology series. So I'm currently writing another short film that will be animated about whales and the blue whales and their problem of extinction. And that's all I can say at this point, because it's still in the preliminary stages. But
the camera is yours, the Kat, from social media, so people can follow you. Send a big hi to wherever you want, to the channel, to Colombia. And yes, we are going to take a picture, but first, it's your turn.
Okay, well, I'm so glad you all joined, and I'm looking forward to 2023 being a better year than ever. And I've got a lot of projects I want to launch, and most of them have a social issue theme. But the focus is very much on the film festival, my one-person show, or shows, I should say, because there's a couple of them. And I also launched Kat Kramer Comedy last year during the pandemic. And I also talk about, social issues through comedy and world problems and, women's empowerment issues and the environment, and trying to get people to laugh during these sad times, because they are sad. I mean, so many people have died and continue to. So I really think comedy is very healing. And so that's something I'm going to focus on a lot too. And there's just a lot I'm trying to accomplish between now and the end of next year. So maybe we'll meet back here and see how much has happened since then. And the most important thing is that the world strives for peace, and that we, are not afraid to embrace change, and the environment needs our attention, and climate change. And I'm going to be doing a lot of projects about that, and animal rescue, and saving elephants and whales, and taking care of the environment and taking care of the planet. So I have a lot of projects that are focused on that theme. And really looking forward to, the Mick Jagger album, and getting that out there, as we talked about earlier. And I know there's something I've forgotten, because I just have a lot going on right now. But that's all what my focus is for the next 6 months. And that sounds like a lot.
But don't worry. In fact, I was telling to Jhon that, of course, this channel is now your home, and you can come wherever you want here to promote the festival.
Oh yeah, I have to say one other thing. Yes, still working 9 to 5. The documentary that's about the making of the movie 9 to 5, about the 9 to 5 movement. It's also about the TV series that happened right after that. It didn't last that many seasons, but there was still a TV series about, and also the Broadway musical, which is now touring in the UK and Australia. I'm going to be presenting that documentary by the Lane twins and Camille Hardman for Sheroes for Change. It's a very important documentary. It should go all the way, as far as I'm concerned, it should win the Academy Award. But whatever, I'm going to be launching that either as the opening film, or it will be part of Sheroes for Change. And I have the Hunt for Humanity Award that was named for the late Marcia Hunt, but she was the first recipient. And so I was able to give that to her when she was alive. She was really our first activist, as I call it, because she was an actor who used her voice to make change and to fight for causes. And then I'm creating the Shero Award to go along with the Sheroes for Change theme, and that will be given out and announced to a worthy recipient when the festival is launched. So that I didn't want to leave without plugging that.
No, in fact, John tell me that as a channel, come us as a media to spread the message about people to the women to apply to this festival. And no, we are so happy. We got a minute because we are also doing a documentary. So if Fuelus, and because this documentary that John and myself we are doing is about a social issue. So if Fuelus told to you, oh, just let's do it. We got like a minute, so thank you, Kat. No, thank you. Yo no sé qué quiero decir.
No, muchas gracias y gracias por la oportunidad.